PNC is proud to support Business Forward, where community leaders discuss the issues confronting business in Central Illinois.
Welcome to Business Forward. I'm your host, Matt George. Joining me tonight, Chuck Weaver, friend, former senator, local businessman, entrepreneur, family man, and mentor to many. So welcome, Chuck.
Thank you.
That's a lot of titles.
I like that family man part, buddy.
That family man.
That's what it's all about.
It is, and let's go right into that piece because really when I think of you and your family and I go out to your home, every time I pull up, I think about your dad and your mom, but Bob and Virginia Weaver were legends. I mean, you could tell story after story about them.
You bet. Thanks. You know, I didn't know you were going to enter or start that way, but when I pull on that farm, I think about them too.
I bet.
I drive around just different parts of the farm. I think, boy, I remember when Dad said this here and Mom said that there, and I got whipped over under that tree right there. So, yeah. But thank you. I was a blessed kid. Great family.
Well, your dad got into the chicken business, but he was a farmer and was smart. And he actually, one of the neatest things for me was going into his office, and when I was in that fundraising mode, he would talk business. He didn't want to know what a typical donor would want to know. He wanted to know what your labor was, he wanted to know things, how you were running the business. If he was going to give you some money,
I like that
it was going to be well used. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah, great.
And you walk into his office and there's a picture of Colonel Sanders. So I thought that was fun. But your wife, Lori, is doing some great things in this community, but you also have three great kids, Travis and Annie and Jesse and so on. So
thanks.
Well, thanks for coming on. Very active family. One of my favorite authors of all time is John Maxwell. He's written 1,000 books, it seems like, and I've read them all. And he talks about leadership and he talks about mentorship. And one of the things that I read was we all need someone to help us in our pursuit of intentional growth. And the right mentor helps you take massive leaps forward.
Wow, that's good.
It's pretty strong. So when I look at you and think of you, I look at you as a mentor. I don't look at you as a businessman I do look at you as a family man, but you know, I was young. I was 29 years old and
is that right? When
29.
You and I, yeah.
53.
Met at Panera Bread, I think was probably what was going on then. Yeah.
It was at Panera Bread, and that really started my mentor journey. And I remember you saying something, Chuck, that I'll never forget. You said, this is not advice. We're going to talk through your leadership journey and what that's going to look like. And I'll be honest with you, I've said it many times before, you know this, but you know, I'm a CEO because of that mentorship. But I wouldn't have been there without it. So I've always appreciated that about you.
It's an honor because you made a difference in this community. Glad to be a little part of it.
Yeah. So when you look at mentorship, how do you look at it? What's the angle you take at it?
So you've got my mind going down about three thoughts already. I want to say two of them really quick. I don't ever want to give advice because the person's story is this big and I know that much. So I'm always going to ask questions. I don't want to give advice. Second thing is I was mentoring a young lady this morning, and I told her to go read John Maxwell books.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I don't always say that, but this morning, just coincidentally, I did.
That is great.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Third one was just about topic generally, and driving up here today, I was trying to think about what would be the key message I'd want to give. Probably two things. One of them is I always start with people, I give them a book on purpose, mission, vision. What are the three big questions? What's your purpose? What's your mission? What's your vision? Because I'm helping people think about what they could do in a political environment. I don't want them going into political environment unless it's clear on what their personal mission is about what they should be accomplishing with their time on earth. So I start with that. And then the second thought is just trying to help people how to think, and I talk about solitude a lot.
Yeah, we'll go into that word. That's an interesting word, solitude. So what's your definition of solitude?
If a person walked up to me on the street and said, Chuck, I hear you mentor a lot of young people. And I think right now I've probably over 100 people I'm mentoring about on a quarterly basis. I'll tell them solitude. Because how do you figure out the one thing that you do that changes 10 things or 15 things? And I think the biggest gap probably in our society right now is people don't slow down to think. And, with my mentees, I ask them when I'm talking about this topic, how often are you solving a problem in the shower? And everybody gets a look at their face like, I do solve problems. It's because the only time your phone's not ringing, your kids aren't yelling, you're standing still, you're in a relaxed mode. And so I do a day of solitude every month. I'm very intentional about it. There's times when we'll take a longer period of time. A few years ago, I did a month in Colorado when I was thinking about getting out of the Senate and deciding what I want to do next, and just shutting down. So that'd be the first thing I tell them, solitude. The second thing that goes with that, doesn't do any good to think about what you need to do unless you have self-discipline. So you start with solitude to figure out what to do, then self-discipline, make sure you accomplish it.
And you truly believe you can always improve self-discipline, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's something that I work on all the time. And I think part of that too is trying to break bad habits. And I think that's hard because you want to get up at the same time. I do. I want to get up at 5:40 every day. I want to start my routine. I like that cadence every day, but when I'm off, I'm off. So I have to try to figure out how to get back and break those habits of staying up and watching the Cubs game or whatever it may be. Right. So over the years, have you ever thought about how many people that you've mentored? Do you track that?
I did a list about 3 or 4 years ago, and I just tried to think. I had 113 people on that list, and the reason I was doing that is because I was thinking about what I wanted to do next. And it's this project I'm doing right now. I call it RS50. And what did I learn from that 113 people as I looked back and thought about what had happened in their lives? And I tried to adjust that for the process I'm doing now.
So I want to just kind of tell you a quick story. And I don't know if you recall it like this, and I kind of don't. It doesn't matter because this is how I recall it. So it's just kind of funny. So you would say, Matt, meet at, I think it was 6:45. We'd go meet at Panera, and we would sit there. It was every Tuesday. And I would walk out, and I'd see this guy walk in. I'd go, man, I saw that guy last Tuesday. I didn't, I wasn't picking up on it. And I'm in thinking mode, and you're having me think differently. And we kept seeing each other, and then I switched times. Then I was at 7:30, and then I saw a different person. And it was interesting because I asked you once, I said, how long, I'm here for 3 hours. You're here for 3 hours changing lives. So you got an award one year at the Association of Fundraising Professionals.
Right, that was an honor.
And you walk up, and instead of giving a speech, patting yourself on the back or saying thanks, this is whatever, you said, I challenge all of you in this room. And I challenge all of you to mentor someone, to care about someone, to take someone under your wing and make them a better leader. And you had our table stand up, and it happened to be Larry, Tim, and it was all the guys who walked by me.
Oh, wow.
At Panera.
Was it a coincidence they were there together? I'm serious.
No, you invited them all.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's
okay.
This was probably, I don't know, 12 years ago, something like that.
Larry's in prison now. No, I'm teasing. Well, Larry's turned out great.
Larry's great.
Yeah.
But you had Young Life, and you had, and you look around, and I thought, I'll never forget that story, because what you did is you made or had a hand in preparing young CEOs to take on this community. And that's what you did. And so I took it as a challenge. I haven't had as many as you. I'm 21, I think, people that I've mentored.
Good for you.
And some of them last forever, and they become friends too, like you and I. But there's always that mentorship piece. You never forget that mentee mentorship piece.
So one of the things I was thinking about yesterday coming in here is, why aren't people doing it? And because I've got a lot of friends with a lot of talent and they aren't mentoring. I think it's fear. And people think, how could I bring value? If you're old, you bring value. You and I have had
You're
so
wise.
many, absolutely. Or still dumb, but we're getting smarter about it, right?
You're talking about failures too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've failed 1,000 times.
And that's where their good stories come from,
Yeah.
are the failures. But if anybody's listening today, I would tell them, if you see somebody that's younger and say, hey, if you ever want to sit down and talk, I got some thoughts. The people I mentor now, their job is to come with 3 questions. I found that more than likely what I want to work on in their life is what they want to work on in their life. So instead of me saying it, I say, what's
Right.
on your mind? And there's 3 questions. Occasionally you say, I don't know where to go with that. Let's think it through together. In fact, I sat down with a young lady one time and we developed a process we called Becoming Bulletproof that I probably repeat once a week. But it was a 21-year-old woman that was troubled with the fact that what she was trying to accomplish wasn't happening. And I said, well, it might be about how you're doing it. Let's figure out the right way to do it. So sometimes I get mentored by the people I'm mentoring.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part of being a mentor.
I learn every day. Absolutely.
You can learn, and
Yeah.
you're right. I think I don't understand why some of my friends don't take that. It's like the most fulfilling part of my day.
I've got, we all think about writing a book. You've written one, you're working on your second now. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll ever write one, but I think trying to write one brings a lot of clarity. But if I was writing a book today, it would be on get clarity of stolen mental models.
Wow. I had to think about that for a minute.
And so this woman I was with this morning, I told her that concept, and she looked at me just like you did. It's like, what the heck does get clarity of stolen mental models? I told her a 4-step process for how you help persuade somebody on something. And it's good. I said, I stole that. Later I said, I stole that. That wasn't my idea. But I've talked about enough. I probably have as much clarity as the guy I heard say it the first time. So gain clarity of stolen mental models. So by the time you're our age, hopefully we've read a lot. Everything I read, I try to say, what's the key point here? And I try to write that down as a mental model. And then how do I get clarity on it?
Yeah, I do the same thing. So
Tell me about that.
Well, Ray Dalio or Lencioni. I mean, there's parts of books that I don't care about.
Right.
So, but I'll go back and reread 10 times the part that I do care about. And I journal. I still do.
Yeah.
I journal and I'll sit there and I'll say, I have to really dissect that piece of it. Sometimes it may turn into a topic on this show. Sometimes I'll write about it, or sometimes I'll talk to a mentor about it.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting because the way I read, I still like old school books. I don't read on a computer or anything. But my books they're highlighted. I got Post-it notes everywhere.
Right.
I've seen your yellow
Same
pads
way.
and your
Yeah.
cards. And
Yeah.
so just to kind of touch on this, and because I get asked all the time about mentorship, and people don't know how to ask for a mentor or don't know how to get a mentor. What do you say to people if they ask you, well, Chuck, how do I get a mentor?
Yeah. Help is the most important word in the English language. You want to fundraise, you want to put a business together, use the word help. I need your help. People do not say no when you say, I need your help. And if you're a young person wanting help, you go to an old guy and you say, I need some help. Would you mind? People don't say no.
Yeah, they really don't.
Yeah.
That's a good. That's
pretty
a good
simple.
way of putting it.
Yeah.
Now, when you are, let's say you're somebody younger and you're looking for a mentor, do you go to somebody that you think that person, like, you don't want to be a banker and go to a bank person, right? To necessarily, I mean, that's
Maybe.
but maybe
Sure.
you want to expand your thoughts too. And so I get that question too.
Right.
Because they don't know how to go outside of their little realm of where they work.
Yeah.
It's
this is really a segue. Are you watching this quarterback show that's on?
I'm not.
It is fantastic.
Is it?
But these great quarterbacks, they have coaches on every part of their life, right? I mean, Kirk, help me out.
Kurt Warner?
No.
Oh, Cousins?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the psychologist he's sitting down with. They
Yeah.
show the conversation with him, plus all the other people. I tell people, you need to think about mentors for different parts of your life. Who's helping you spiritually? Who's helping you as a father? Who's helping you in your business, right? Who's helping you if it's a political career? Because I can't help people in some areas of their life, but I might be able to help them in others. So figure out the area you want to work on, and then ask around who's smart in it.
Yeah. So in our process as mentor and mentee, the most important habit I got into was holding myself more accountable for everything that I do.
Great.
I like that. All right, let's change gears. I'm gonna come back to mentorship at the end because I wanna ask you if you have mentors, but I want to end with that. Let's change gears. You work with a lot of startup companies. And when we started talking about that, like, obviously know what a startup company is, but what's your role in working with a startup company? Because there's a lot of different roles.
So there's 3 things our startup community has to have in Peoria. And I think we're very good at 2 of them, and I think we're very poor at 1 of them.
Okay.
So people say, how do we get new businesses here? Get businesses started here? You've got to have the idea. Really, there's no shortage of ideas. That's easy to come by, believe it or not. Now, whether they're great or not, or whether they're just a single, you don't know. You got to have financing, and you can raise money in the city of Peoria if you go through the right processes and get acquainted with the right people. And this is a town that people will help finance ideas. And the third one is you need to know how to manage the idea. That is what we're poor at in this community. You go to Silicon Valley, you have all these people that have started companies, and now when you need to start a company, you can figure out who are the 5 guys that know something about it. We don't have that here. That's where we're weak. So as myself, that's where I try to fill the gap, is how to help people manage their idea better. And go ahead.
How do you do that? Like how? Give me an example of, because I believe you. I mean, I feel like I have 1,000 ideas. Not all of them are good, but you know, if you push me to have a business idea by Friday at noon, I'd give you one, right? But there's a lot of people like that. The financing piece is a whole nother piece. But then that piece that you're talking about,
Management piece.
that is the beating that's hard.
Right. So that's about getting the right people in the room with you. So I didn't plan on going there today on this, but it's I think an interesting kind of summary of what I'm trying to do with people as they're starting a company. I had a guy that approached me about an idea, and I thought it was terrible. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. And I didn't want to tell him how terrible the idea was. I go to dinner that night, and Annie's mother-in-law, I told her, she said, what'd you do today? I told her about this idea. She goes, I want one of those. And I thought, maybe it's not a bad idea after all. It's like, but I still didn't like it myself.
Right.
I called the guy the next day and said, you know, you are at ground zero, and I'm willing to work with you, but, you know, I'm going to help bring you management. I'm going to help bring you fundraising. I'm going to help you understand where your idea is going to work. And I'm willing to go ahead, but we are going to own this 50-50. And he didn't have any problem with that because he knew he had the idea, but he didn't have all the other parts. And I said, and then as we raise money, we'll dilute equally. So as you go out to raise dollars, you know, we'll go to 49, 48 together. And this was really fun. I haven't done it many times, but I called 5 business owners I knew, and I said, I need your smartest guy for online marketing for one. I need your smartest design guy. And they said, well, why are you doing this? I said, well, I've got this guy with an idea, and here's where I want to bring you value, Mr. Business Owner. I want 10 hours of your person that you're going to give me, and they will watch a decision made on a startup, whether it's a go or a no-go. And they all gave me yes. And so, you know, Bumpbox, great online company. They gave me their person in charge of online marketing. Now, that person's worth a lot of money to get 10 hours of their time. I got it for free for this guy. So 3 steps. The 10 hours is basically 3 2-hour meetings and a 4-hour homework project for the person helping us. And the first meeting is we're going to brainstorm all the problems of this idea. Then we're going to decide what do we need to know about the solutions. So what's the go, no-go on whether or not this kills the business or not? And then I gave these young people homework on going and studying the 5 most critical areas. And then they came back at the 3rd meeting, and they're presenting what they figured out about this idea. This is the great part. An hour in, this guy said, this idea doesn't work, does it? And everybody said, nope.
Wow.
And I said, hold on, it works in Japan. because what we learned, it was about recycling. Japan does totally different recycling than every place else in the world. This might work in Japan, so don't feel like your idea is dead, but you're going to find somebody else other than me if it's about Japan. But I tell people, I'm doing you a favor if we figure out why your idea won't work in 10 weeks. Because otherwise you spend 5 years in your mom's basement working on something that's not going to work. So we try to get to a conclusion. And I'm not always right, you know.
That's a process too.
Fun process.
It is a fun process. The other piece too that's interesting is think about the dollars saved and the mind time saved. I mean, that's interesting.
So I do something like that with about every deal I get into now. I negotiate what I'm going to get. It's never 50%. That was rare. I usually want 3 to 5 and 3 to 5%. And I will then, after we negotiate it, I'm going to spend 6 weeks mentoring them. And if I walk away, they got good free advice. If I want in, then I exercise my option to get in. But I go through that process for that 6 weeks of what do we need to understand, what are the key points. Mainly what I'm looking at is whether or not that entrepreneur is flexible to learn. That's the biggest problem with entrepreneurs. They get an idea and they won't pivot off of the original idea when sometimes they need to.
Yeah, I was in a...
I hope this isn't too boring.
This is awesome because it reminds me, I was involved with something with Kevin Harrington on Shark Tank, and it was a unbelievable idea. He had funding. He had this. His problem was him. So I think it's interesting too is in this process you can also identify who's not the CEO of the company, and sometimes it's the founder or slash.
Yeah, that's that third part of management. You got to find the right person to run it. It may not be the founder.
And that
some of them can't give that up, and that's a problem for them.
This guy didn't give it up.
And where's he now?
He failed.
Absolutely.
But you're talking
that's hard.
Millions, and the idea was brilliant. And so I think that you're right. I mean, so. One of the shows that I do watch all the time is Shark Tank because I think it's interesting not only how they, not just the business model, but how they present the model. And you can almost tell who's a leader or who's not by whether they're going to do it or
style
not. Interesting. So how many people in a year or month come up to you and pitch an idea to you? Does it happen a lot?
Literally, I got a text an hour and a half ago. I was at breakfast, some lady grabbed me and said, hey, I just gave somebody your name.
Okay.
I would say, I wouldn't think every 2 or 3 weeks wouldn't be out of the picture. And, you know, I watched my dad and my mom, they would try to help anybody they could. And so my goal is try to help, but sometimes you just don't have the ability. But almost always I will spend at least a breakfast with them, helping them think. And hopefully you give them good guidance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the empathy piece.
Sure.
I mean, it is. It's you caring. You know, I wasn't even going to go here, but I just thought of something because I think it's important to startups is being organized too. And you have a system. And so
I got pad paper.
You
got your pad there, but I had to.
How do you, as busy as you are in a day, how do you get through that list to knock stuff off so it doesn't carry on to the procrastination of the next day? How do you do that?
I guess the key is you've got to put things in different buckets and how you do them. If I'm sitting with someone and like this lady this morning, she said, hey, I want you to call this guy. Hey, I'm going to have this guy call you. I said, no, I want you to put me on a text with him. That's the way I like to manage that because now I've got it. Now she knows I did my job, so I honor the person that sent them to me, and we'll start doing a follow-up on that. I try to get off my plate immediately. I mean, if I'm sitting with somebody and an idea comes up, I had a guy this morning that I was sitting with. I said, hey, let me text them real quick while we're sitting here. You got to get it off your plate. I write everything down.
I know you do.
That's on my plate to do. And when I watch people I'm talking to and they're not taking notes, I'm thinking, I probably waste my energy here. Because, you know, you gotta, our brains are not wired to remember things.
That's right.
You remember things when you bump into them, not randomly. You're walking down the street and you go, oh gosh, I need to remember X, Y, Z. It's usually you saw the dry cleaner goes, I better stop in. So I've got a system I use for how I track stuff.
All right, last question. Mentors for you. Don't count Bob and Virginia Weaver. They're forever mentors. But who does Chuck Weaver go to now for advice?
Right. I've got two different ways I do that. I have virtual mentors that don't even know I exist. Okay. Jack Welch is a guy I think of that was, GE, one of the greatest CEOs ever. If I'm in a tough spot, I think, what would Jack Welch do right now? And you put yourself in those shoes. Norman Brinker, who has a Peoria, he was a restaurant guy, and I was a restaurant guy, and I think, what would Norman Brinker do right now?
Interesting.
So that's one part, and it's enough just to get your brain backed up. It could be, what would Mayor Maloof have done? What would Mayor Artis have done? What would Mayor Ali do if I was in there in this situation? Think of good leaders and how you would deal with that.
All right. Well,
the other part, though, is I circle myself with good people. So
you
go
that.
ahead. Yeah.
No, you do that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
What an honor.
Mentor and friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm Matt George, and this is another episode of Business Forward.
Thank you for tuning in to Business Forward, brought to you by PNC.